I need to be honest with you about something. I run a personal development channel, and I think self development might be ruining your life. I know that sounds dramatic, but stay with me for the next 12 minutes because what I'm about to share changed everything for me, and I think it might change things for you too. Hi, I'm Sama. This is where I explore growth through psychology, productivity, and conscious living. So, welcome to my channel. A couple of years ago, I was deep in the self improvement world, and I mean deep. I was reading a new book every week, listening to podcasts on every walk, watching videos just like this one every single night before bed. I had journals full of goals, vision boards on my walls, apps tracking my habits, my sleep, my water intake, my screen time. And you know what? I felt terrible. Not in an obvious way, not like something was clearly wrong. It was more like a low hum of anxiety that never went away. This constant feeling that I wasn't doing enough, that I wasn't enough. The cruel irony. The more self improvement content I consumed, the worse I felt about myself. Every book reminded me of another area where I was falling short. Every podcast introduced a new habit that I should be doing. Every video made me feel like I was three steps behind everyone else. I was spending so much time learning about how to live better that I actually forgot to live. And if any of that sounds familiar to you, if you've ever felt like you're doing all the things right but still feel stuck, then this video is for you. So here's the thing most people don't tell you about the self improvement industry. It's a $48 billion business and it's growing fast, projected to hit $67 billion by 2030. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with that, people wanting to grow. Growing is a beautiful thing, but there's a number that should make you pause. 80% of the self help buyers are repeat customers. Think about that. If self help books actually fixed what they promised to fix, why would you need to keep buying more? The trap works in three ways, and once you see them, you can't unsee them. Number one, consuming replaces doing. This is a big one. Read a book about productivity and feel productive. You watch a video about confidence and you feel confident. You listen to a podcast about taking action and feel like you've taken action, but you haven't done anything yet. You've just consumed. Two out of five people don't even finish the self help books that they buy. And 40% of people who download self improvement apps cancel within 6 months. We're not actually improving, we're just shopping for improvement. Number two, the pursuit of getting better turns into a belief that you're not good enough. This one is sneaky because self improvement, by definition, starts with the assumption that something about you need to be improved. And when you're constantly surrounded by that message, book after book, video after video, it starts to seep in. You stop seeing self improvement as something you choose to do, it becomes something you have to do. Because without it, you're broken, you're behind. That's not growth, that's anxiety wearing a self help t shirt. Number three, analysis paralysis. Barry Schwartz, a psychologist, wrote a whole book about the called paradox of choice. His research shows that the more option we have, the more anxious we become and the less likely we are to actually choose. And the self-improvement world, it's an ocean of options. Should you wake up at 5 a.m. or follow your natural rhythm? Cold showers or warm showers? Journaling in the morning or at night? Meditate for 5 minutes or 20 minutes? You end up spending more time deciding how to improve than actually improving. Now, here's where it gets really interesting because it isn't just a willpower problem. There's actually brain science behind why we get stuck in this loop. Your brain has a reward system powered by dopamine. And here's the key, dopamine doesn't just respond to doing rewarding things, it responds to anticipating them. Research from Columbia University and UCLA shows that novel information, new ideas, new strategies, new frameworks activates this same reward system. Learning something new literally gives you a dopamine hit. So, when you read a self help book and discover a new productivity system, your brain rewards you. It feels productive, it feels like progress, but it's not a progress, it's just novelty. And here's a trap within a trap. Because consuming feels like doing, your brain loses the urgency to actually do anything. You've already gotten the reward. Why would you put hard work when you can just read another chapter? This is why you can read 10 books about waking up early and still hit a snooze button every morning. Your brain already got its reward from learning about waking up early. The actual waking up, that's just effort without a novelty bonus. It's a loop. Learn, feel good, learn more, never act. And every self help book, podcast, and video, including this one, can feed that loop if you let it. Okay, so if the trap is real, and I think it is, how do we escape it? I want to share 3 shifts that genuinely help me, and I want to be upfront. These are not revolutionary, they're simple, almost disappointingly simple, but that's kind of the point. The first shift is choosing doing over consuming. James Clear, the guy who wrote Atomic Habits, has this concept that I love. He says improving by just 1% every day compounds to become 73 times better over a year. That math is real, but here's what people miss. That 1% has to be action, not information. Reading about exercises and 1% improvement. Doing 10 push ups is. So here's what I started doing, and I challenge you to try this. For every piece of self improvement content you consume, you have to take one small action within 24 hours. Not a big action, not a life changing action, just one thing. You read about gratitude, text one person and thank them. You watch a video about focus, put your phone in another room for 1 hour. You listen to a podcast about journaling, write 3 sentences tonight. There's a psychologist named Peter Goldwasser who studied something called implementation intentions. Basically, if then planning. If I finish this video, then I will do X. His research across more than 8,000 participants found that this simple technique has a medium to large effect on actually reaching your goals. It's not about consuming less, it's about acting on what you consume. The moment you make that shift, self improvement stops being something you watch and it starts being something you do. The second shift is the one that hit me the hardest, and it's this. Self improvement should start with self acceptance, not end with it. Most of us approach self improvement from a place of, I'm not okay and I need to fix that. But the research on self compassion, and there is a lot of it, consistently shows that people who accept themselves as who they are right now change more effectively. They have less anxiety, they have less depression, more resilience. Mark Manson put it really well. He said something like, the prerequisite for self help is self acceptance, which self help itself cannot provide. There's a Danish philosopher named Sven Brinkmann who wrote a book called Stand Firm. And his argument is basically stop trying to consistently optimizing yourself. He draws on a Stoic philosophy, the idea that there is value in consistency, in being steady, in accepting who you are instead of always chasing who you want to be. I'm not saying don't grow, I'm not saying don't learn, I'm saying what if you started from a place of I'm okay and also I can grow instead of I'm broken and I need to be fixed? That one shift from fixing to accepting changed my entire relationship with personal development because I stopped consuming out of desperation and I started learning out of genuine curiosity. And that made all the difference. The third shift is embarrassingly simple, and it's this: do small things instead of planning big things. I used to have these elaborate systems, morning routines with 12 steps, quarterly goal reviews with color coded spreadsheets, vision boards that look like crime scene evidence walls. And none of it worked because the bigger the plan, the less likely you are to actually start. Perfectionism and burnout are directly linked. Research published in Frontiers in Psychology shows that setting unrealistic, perfectionistic goals leads to harsh self criticism and eventually burnout. So now, my entire self improvement plan fits on a sticky note. It's one thing I'm working on this week. One, not five goals, not 10 habits, just one. This week I'm working on being present in the conversations. That's it. Next week I'll pick something else, or maybe I'll stick it with this one. It doesn't matter. The point is small, real, and happening beats big, perfect, and imaginary every time. Okay, so here's where I could do the classic YouTube thing and say like and subscribe. And yeah, I'd love it if you already did. But honestly, if you watch this far, I'd rather you do something more important. Here's my challenge, and it's a small on purpose. Close this video, don't watch another one. Don't go find a podcast about this. Don't order a book about the trap of self improvement. Instead, think about one thing, just one that you've been learning about doing but haven't actually done yet. And do the smallest possible version of it. Today, not tomorrow, today. And if you want, drop it in the comments. Tell me what your one thing is. Not because I'm trying to boost engagement, but because saying it loud makes it real. Look, I love this stuff. I love making videos. I love that you watch them. But I'd rather you watch less and live more. That's the whole point, right? I'll see you in the next one, but only after you've done your one thing.